just have like thinking about Baba. And when you think about Baba, you do relax, you calm down. Or was there really like a deep connection? Did I really have an experience? Because I think the greatest sustenance in Brahman life is to educate myself how to experience in meditation. And when I went on my travels as a young person, I was 20 and wandered the world. I went all the way up to Australia to I did religious communities. I lived with Hindus and Sikhs and Christians and Muslims, Buddhists and Buddhists and Buddhists and and all of them had lovely things to say. But my question after a while was, how do you experience? How do you convert what you know into what you feel? And in a way, what is meditation? Meditation is taking Baba's truth and transforming it into a feeling or an experience inside. And sometimes I feel that the first step is to know. You can know the knowledge in a week. The second step is to believe and have faith. It doesn't take long. The next 998 steps are educating myself how to really experience what Baba is saying. And in 1985, when we were in Madhavan, Baba told all the double foreigners to do the course again. I've been a Bk for 10 years. Baba told us all to do the course again. You know what he said? He called it the realization course. And Baba said, you know the knowledge, you believe the knowledge, you teach the knowledge, but you don't experience the knowledge. And that was one of the biggest sort of shifts for me in my Brahman journey. Because I think the buckets and scars are so deep in us that once I know it, yep, I know I'm a soul, that's it. Actually, that's the first step of millions of steps to unpack the ultimate truth of who I am, to feel it. And what Baba said, every point of knowledge has an associated experience. So we all know I'm a peaceful soul. We teach it, we've taught it to thousands. How long does it take to remain peaceful at all times in my life? That's what I've imbibed the truth of that. At all times, not just occasionally. When I'm at home, when things go wrong and everything, how much have I totally absorbed that truth? And I really believe that when Baba says children churn the knowledge, what he's actually saying is children experience the knowledge, experience it. Because every point, the soul, the supreme soul, the three worlds, it has an associated feeling. And it's the feeling that sustains you. Once when I said to him, amazing connections with with Baba, feelings, experiences, and then they sort of almost peter out. And so I just sort of am sustained on faith, just like a good devotee, rather than really educating myself. And I began to think that my mind is like a laboratory, and I have to experiment in the laboratory of my mind, how to convert Baba's truths. And I often have shared, I've done dozens of experiments, and my favorite experiment of all is the feeling of being incorporeal. And I've done that over months. I do one experiment, because I think if your mind goes in too many directions, you don't get very far. And one of the reasons I did it, because I said to Didi Manmohini, I said, Didi, Baba tells us to do so many things. What's the most important effort? Straight away she said to be incorporeal. And then I thought, well, Brahma Baba summarized 32 years of efforts. And that was the first word, to be incorporeal. And so over months and months, actually I've done it over years, I've really done this experiment where I really visualize the soul, but keep asking myself, what's the feeling of being a non-physical being in this physical world? And I found that naturally, when I'm in the state of being incorporeal, you're not influenced by the corporeal. You are naturally, utterly, totally detached from things happening around you. It's not that you sort of think, I must be detached, You are naturally in that state, and yet you're present, you're connected, you're responsible, but you're completely uninfluenced. And this, to me, is like the real sustenance, because the feeling, and I can now create it more when I want, is so sweet. You're there, but you're not influenced. It's almost like you're sitting watching a film. It's such a sweet feeling that the reality is I'm a non-physical being. Even the form of the soul, and I sometimes mention this because someone said to me a few years ago that the latest sort of theory in science is that our physical form, these bodies which we're all sitting, we've all got our own car. Science believes it's made up of 30 trillion cells. Now, you can't even get your head around that number, it's so huge. Not even billion, but trillion. And the soul is more subtle than one cell. You think, who am I? Really, it's incredible. Because what I feel to experience, it's like taking one idea and going deeper and deeper and keeping asking the question, how does it feel? Not just chanting it like a mantra, I'm incorporeal, I'm eternal, no. I unpack that truth and it turns into a feeling. Daddy Tenki once said that the essence of soul consciousness is the feeling of being eternal. The absolute reality is that I always exist. And when that really comes strongly, then it's like the whole account of hundreds of fears that most of us have, really. So many fears we carry from the formula how to experience. And that was become a point, apply a point, remember a point. And really, all of those steps are essential. Have I even learned the art of complete and utter detachment from my name and form? Complete and total. When you think the soul is non-material, it doesn't have any size or form, it's incredible. That's the reality of the self. How deep is the identification? Because I find the more I'm detached from the body, it's almost like you open the door to spiritual experience. And the more I've got to apply a point, because too much thinking suppresses experience. We are thinking addicts. We can't stop. Just can't stop thinking, analysing, thinking, overthinking, and you can't experience. The more you sort of apply a full stop, and in a sense be present in front of Baba. But sometimes I think we just, even in front of Baba, we're trying to work out everything, thinking a lot. And I sometimes think Baba comes along and says, hello child, and I'm thinking, and he says, oh, you're busy, I'll go to somebody else. We're so self-absorbed actually. So self-absorbed in me, my life, how I feel, my family, the situation in the world. Really. And sometimes I think we get so self-absorbed. And if I really just sit in front of Baba with a plain intellect, Baba can influence me to an experience. And then when I've really become bodiless, I've really put a full stop to this addiction, and I use that word purposefully, of overthinking about everything, then I can really be with Baba. Baba's presence, Baba's vibrations, Baba's personality become really real. And that's, I think, spiritual experience is the greatest sustenance. And Baba sometimes says spiritual experience is the greatest authority. It's the greater part. Anyway, I said I wouldn't ramble on too long. So I didn't know if anyone wants to ask anything, mention anything.
There was a question from Zoom. They sent to me.
Sorry?
There was a question from the people who are on Zoom. They say how to remember constantly Baba. Because in every Murli Baba says, remember me constantly, remember me constantly.
Well, what does Baba say? Some children write to him and say, Baba, I can't forget you. And Baba says, rubbish. Baba himself says, I don't believe a word, you're telling lies. Sometimes we are just like we have two minds. There's one mind of what I want to be, and it's just a fantasy. The other is the reality of what's happening. And sometimes we live in the fantasy world where that's who I want to be, but really my mind's all over the place in a sense. And really we're so pulled by our karmic accounts and our situations, and remembrance is such a deep subject, and that was what I studied during COVID, and what I began to observe was the subtle thread of the intellect. Because the intellect's like a little thread that in a millisecond will travel and connect with something. A memory, a personality, a behavior, a responsibility. And we might be even sitting in meditation and going, I'm connecting. And whatever I connect with, it influences me. And ultimately, I began to see that effort is attention. And Brahma Baba lived his life, but he was so attentive, not with attention, but just watching in every millisecond, where does the subtle thread connect with? And even if it connects with a defect of somebody, you recognize it and change it like that. And that's what I've been trying to practice that when your intellect travels and connects with something that's not going to uplift you, because it's a habit, or not only just connect, often we dwell. We dwell on a problem, we dwell on a personality, we dwell on an issue. And the more I dwell, my whole stage just goes down. And I really feel that it's developing this awareness of where does the subtle thread connect. Because I think most of the time we're not even aware ourselves. And I often say that if I'm not happy, if I don't feel very happy, there's only one question to ask. What have I been remembering? What have I connected? And if you look at it, you'll see you're remembering that somebody hasn't really given me respect. Somebody's not really cooperating with me. One of these, we just go into it. But if I'm watching, and as soon as my intellect goes along, I just tweak it. Back to Baba. And that's why Baba used that phrase, many drops make an ocean. And we are busy, we've all got things to do in life, but in those moments, which is the majority of the day, if I train myself, the minute I walk out this door and walk down to my car, remember Baba. As I drive back home, remember Baba. As I prepare the end of, I keep going to Baba, making a habit of remembrance. It's deep, deep work, actually. And I think we often just believe and sit and think about Baba. That's okay, because we relax a bit. But it's not really yoga. If I'm wanting to have yoga, I have to become absolutely bodiless. And the more you become bodiless, the more you become like Baba, you will feel connected, you will feel close. The more I'm semi-body conscious, I'm sort of more still believing in Baba than really having this deep, loving connection.
When you are bodiless, in your yoga and you have this deep connection, what are your thoughts at that time? How long can you carry that connection and the feeling?
See, I feel that many of us just sit down, and we're rushing around during the day doing this, sit down in the evening yoga and just expect to go, but I'll go all over the place. Yoga is the result of all things in my life being accurate. And we have to build a stage of yoga. So I need really accurate knowledge. And sometimes, to be frank, even some of Baba's children twist the knowledge according to their own desires, or they interpret it. I need to follow all of Baba's directions, because if my actions are inaccurate, I go to remember Baba and I'll be pulled a bit by my own inaccurate karmas. That's why Srimat is there. Srimat's for yoga, because if I'm gossiping about somebody, putting someone down, slightly twisting the truth, these sort of karmas don't allow the intellect to concentrate. So I need accurate knowledge. I even remember once Baba talked about the two principles of freedom. The first principle, to free myself, in a way yoga is free myself from all the influences, all the pulls, all the attractions, all the accounts, so I can remember Baba. The first is all relationships with Baba. The second is nothing is mine. And if I'm really in that, it's almost like I've freed myself. That's the foundation. Then I have accurate knowledge, secondly. Then I follow Srimat. And then there's deep love. Not ordinary love, but deep love. And that's like the rocket fuel to propel me out of the body. And when I've really done work, it's like I become present in front of Baba. My sense organs aren't pulling me to what I've seen, what I've heard. I'm absolutely present in front of Baba. But it's all the groundwork that frees me to be able to be absolutely present, so that I'm not pulled here and there, by what happened during the day, what I have to do. I'm absolutely, by the body and soul, present in front of Baba, and I'm open. And I can really feel Baba's influence at that time. And that's when I really pick up that love, that support, sometimes clarity, incredible clarity too. But unless I do the groundwork, I don't think I can really get there. And the groundwork is really just freeing myself from all the things that keep pulling my intellect. So I'm just in silence and absolutely present. Sometimes I think this self-absorption in me in my life, I'm in front of Baba, but I'm just thinking, Baba, I'm feeling this, Baba, this is happening to me, Baba. Baba can't influence. How can Baba influence? But I'm so to me, I think it's a sort of form of body consciousness or ego, and I just get so obsessed about me and my life. I really feel the sanskara of this life is to serve, to give. And we have to pay attention to the self, but not be so self-absorbed about all my problems and issues. And often we, exaggerate them.
So when you actually are in deep yoga, if you are in the bodiless stage and you are not constantly thinking of your life and yourself, you can remain in that zone for quite long.
You can. In fact, I think the more you practice, that's more your default position, just to be in that space of, in a way, it's a state of absolute love for one, absolute detachment from everything. It's such a detachment is a real sign of wisdom. I'm present, I'm connected, but I'm just beyond influence. Because we're just so influenced by all the ups and downs of life, and so I'm just dancing to the tune of all the influences in this material world, in a way, and yet the more I'm detached from my body deeply, the more I really put myself under Baba's influence rather than a human being's influence or a situation's influence or whatever. But everything takes practice, but I think it's the real Rajyog really to free myself from everything, remain responsible, but absolutely mentally free myself from the eyes and lies of life.
I think living in locket, when I come to the center, when I'm here, or when I'm in any BK environment, I'm in a different zone. I feel that freedom and that connection automatically, and it's really beautiful. But when I step into my home, in my locket home, I'm like trying to hold that connection constantly, and it's an effort.
That's what we have to do, don't we?
And that's what pulls me to the BK life, and pulls me to the classroom, and pulls me to the retreats, because I know I'm in a different.
But in a way, I think, I remember Didi Nirmala telling us that she wanted to surrender as soon as she met Baba. She was a doctor working in Bombay. Baba said, no, you can't surrender. You have to work. For 7 years, she worked full time, 6 days a week, and ran the center. I worked for 11 years full time and ran the center. Because we have to take our spirituality into our life. You see, the reason through all the copper and iron age, people couldn't do that, so they'd go to caves and mountains. always running away from influences. But when I really equip myself spiritually, I'm present, but I'm not influenced, by things which are really happening around. And I found like I traveled quite a bit with Daddy Prakashmani, traveled to America, Australia, India, with her. How sweet was she? How lovely. But she was deeply detached. I've seen deeply. Amazingly, just, some people get so emotional, someone dies, anything. I never saw her shake in any way. That's, so it's that you really got that spiritual power from not just listening to the ideas, but really imbibing them deeply, really, really deeply. And I think, I feel detachment is the quality that we all need to manage the next few years. I was saying today somewhere that just imagine all of us are about to go home soon to the soul world. Just imagine if it was July. And all of us now feel we've got 2 months in this body. And I have to leave my body, leave my family, leave my possessions, leave my roles, leave my responsibilities, leave my service. Absolutely everything I have to leave. Am I ready? It's a good thing to think about because that's going to happen soon. Whatever age or background we're in. And that's in a way Gyan is now doing that mentally while maintaining responsibility. And that's the tricky bit in one way. So I'm present, and I'm even loving and caring, but I'm completely detached. And to me, detachment is such a sign that I've absorbed God's truth. And if you look at I find a lot of the seniors, all the daddies I spent time with, they were so detached. It's purity, actually. Detachment is purity. Really pure. It's just, sometimes I think about this, Kailash Bhai was saying that, we know that just saying that Charlie Bhai was saying how just today in India fired a few missiles at Pakistan, and Pakistan has announced just in the last few hours that they're definitely going to retaliate. And we know, others told us for 90 years, that there will be chaos in Bharat, civil war. We know it, others told us. And is it now? May not be, but it may be. We've seen over the last few years, it's 90 years since Baba came. Baba said there'd be 900,000, it's about 900,000. Most of India knows about the Brahma kumaris, and the world, and the rest of the world know in minutes. That makes us think, am I ready? Am I ready really for this final journey? How detached do I have to become? It's sweetly detached, Baba's way, not this rigid, uptight detachment where I become aloof, disconnect. That's not Baba's way at all. I'm loving, I'm caring, I'm kind, I'm close, but I'm not influenced by the scenes of drama. They will be absolutely chaotic. And our stability will be the support for people around us. If we just, in a soul-conscious way, just watch the scenes, it will be more than even we imagine. It's going to be incredible what's we're going to see happening. That's why now, really, this practice of just detaching completely from my body. What did Baba say a few days ago? You're not male and you're not female. How deep is that in one birth? You're not nationalities, we are a soul. How deeply have I really grabbed this truth of who I am? Because sometimes I think that this is the only time in eternity that I can know this. Am I using this time? Or do I get distracted by the petty things of life? And it's very easy, isn't it? But it's not that they're unimportant, but I give so much mental energy to petty things. And this is the only time I can remember Baba, be with Baba, know Baba. What am I doing? To me, the way to live this life is, have all relationships with one and give. Just give. Serve. It's to be with Baba and do service. I just spent 10 days with Jackie just in Australia, and it reminded me of being with Daddy Jackie. There's not a second she's not serving. It's the expression of your love for Baba. It didn't matter to Daddy whether she was talking to 5 people or 5,000. She would keep donating, giving. And you don't become tired because, it's Baba who's filling you. In fact, the more Baba fills you, the more you feel you have to give. Yeah. I think really we have to think about the time and using our time and not get tense about or worried about heavy, but just keep what's important. One brother in Australia, he's a palliative care physician, and he's often told me when people are dying, there's 2 things on their mind. First is what sort of person was I? In a way, I have this, it's like my own account. What sort of, did I live according to my values and truth? And secondly, how did I treat other people? So that's all that's important.
How did I
treat other people? And he says that no one ever thinks, oh, I wish I'd made more money, I wish I'd had a better job. All the things in life that a lot of people get so over-concerned about. What's really important is those 2 accounts. What sort of person was I? Was I living according to my values and truth, others and directions? And was I benevolent? Really benevolent to those around me? Or did I get stuck in petty conflicts and differences? It's easy to do. And waste your time and all that sort of stuff. Too easy. Oh, Shanti.
I do have a question.
Just briefly, if it's okay.
So you were talking about being detached, and it took you many years of, I'm sure, it takes a lot of practice and years of doing meditation or yoga. But as a beginner, and there are many beginners who come in this path of spirituality, whether they are following Baba or anyone else, detachment is the key, definitely. What would you suggest? I would not say the word tip, but would you suggest a kind of advice or a way so that a person is learning to get detached easier, and how can it help
Yeah.
to make us feel?
There's a very simple way. Just fall in love with Shiv Baba deeply, who's incorporeal. Is an incorporeal point. The more your mind's absorbed in Baba, you almost automatically, naturally become less influenced by what's in this corporeal world. It's that simple. So you're not thinking, I must be detached, I have to. No, it's a natural consequence. And secondly, the more you completely detach from your body, you learn the art of becoming a bodiless soul. And I just feel that this wonderful instrument is, but my name is, Charlie's the name of this body. And all the labels, they're not permanent, they're just temporary. My gender, my age, my nationality, my religion, my role, my responsibilities, my role, it's all temporary. That's not who I am. I'm a soul. And when you let that, all the temporary identities which we carry, automatically, the more you're detached from your body, you'll be detached from people's opinions, behaviors, attitudes, vibrations, everything.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Good night.
It's very funny when we see you and you're sitting there. It seems so easy and so simple.
Yeah, I
and
know.
everything is so clear.
Power full stage.
And then when you're in the house, like, that's it. But I do agree that you're waking up, even at home, in moments. You're waking up and connecting and connecting and connecting. I can see that happening. But it's not constant.
It will become
Can ask Baba.
constant.
If Baba says so, that's the only solace, is that Baba says it will become so.
UH app disconnected.
This, when I was doing yoga this time, Baba just touched me that next trip when you come to Bangkok, if possible, in my area, to do a public program. Because I live far from here, like an hour. Do a program. Suraj Bhai came and maybe Dr. Nirma has been. So next time.
No problem. I think you asked me last time.
Yeah, I did, right? Then Baba just touched me and I was like, I get tired and I feel like I don't know anybody's gonna come and you tell people to come. But Baba touched to say, so I just said it.